Hello, we're section 2, group 4. This is our presentation on the Boeing company. We'll look at Boeing's position in the global aerospace deploy, diagnose the key challenges that are holding back its commercial recovery, and then present our recommendation to how Boeing can restore credibility, improve execution, and better leverage its defense and service business. This presentation is based on recent financial report, industry analysis, and course framework we've used throughout the semester. Roadmap and agenda. I'll start quick with a roadmap so you know where we're heading. First, I'll introduce Boeing and the purpose of this analysis, then walk through Boeing's internal position and its business model. Next, I'll look at the external and industrial environment. And finally, I'll bring it together in a strategic problem statement and our recommendation for improving Boeing's long-term performance. Let's start with a quick overview of Boeing and how it's making money. Boeing operates through three main segments: commercial airplane, defense, aerospace and security, and global service, combining aircraft sales with life cycle support, service, and digital solution. In commercial aviation, it effectively competes in a global deploy with Airbus, where difference in safety, reliability, and execution quickly shifts shares. Our analysis assesses how well Boeing is positioned competitively, financially, and operationally, especially in terms of safety and reliability, and of its size and portfolio. Boeing's strategic decisions don't just affect its owner, its shareholder, but have a meaningful impact on global aviation, defense capability, supply chain, and even national economies. So understanding where Boeing is today and where it needs to go is important well beyond the company itself. On this slide, I'll summarize Boeing's value proposition and business model. Boeing primarily serves commercial airlines, cargo operator, and government and defense customers, offering fuel-efficient aircraft and service that keeps the fleet flying and generating revenues. Its revenue model combines large, long-term aircraft orders with higher margin service across the life of each jet, but it's but it operates in a very capital intense environment where disruption and rework can be extremely costly. This is the business model foundation that the rest of our analysis builds on. Here we highlight four of Boeing's most important resource and capability. Boeing has a large global aircraft base and deep long-term relationship with airlines and government that competitors can't easily replicate. It also has a strong engineering and system integration expertise, a global manufacturing and supplier footprint, and an expanding digital and service business. Together, these strengths explain why Boeing remains central in commercial aviation and defense, even as execution issues have limited their payroll. Turning to our VRO analysis, we use this framework to evaluate whether Boeing's key resources provide a sustained competitive advantage. Our value, rarity, and imitability. Boeing is structurally strong. Its installed base, regulatory certification, and 787 composite know-how are highly valuable and difficult to copy. The story change on organization. Boeing's global service is set up to monetize fleet data, but production and supply chain systems are not consistently organized to capture value. So the assets are there, but weak execution keeps Boeing from fully realizing a sustained advantage. In other words, Boeing has a strong VRI but weak organization, currently only at parity, not full sustained advantage. On this slide, we're going to look at macro environment for Boeing through the pastel lens. Politically and regulatorily, Boeing operates under intense FAA and EASA scrutiny and must rebuild trust before safely ramping up production. Geopolitically, it depends heavily on US and allied defense spending, which supports demand and can pull capital and attention from fixing commercial aviation. Economically, global demand is strong, especially in high growth regions, while social expectations around safety, reliability, and passenger experience are rising. Techno- technolo- Technologically and environmentally, advances in material propulsion and emission standards create both an opportunity and a threat. Boeing can benefit if it executes, but it can fall behind. Those pressures become a competitive disadvantage. So overall, the macro environment offers a strong demand tailwind, but it also raises the bar on safety, reliability, and environment. Performance areas where Boeing recent execution problems are most exposed currently. On this slide map, we talk about Boeing's critical stakeholder by power and interest. In the top right quadrant are major airlines, cargo customer, and regulators with the US and allied government. These groups have both high stakes and high influence. Key suppliers and investors hold substantial power over cost, schedule, and access to capital, while employees, union, and local communities shape execution quality and Boeing's reputation in core location. The main takeaway is that Boeing must keep regulators and large customers closely managed while aligning suppliers, workers, and communities around a quality first recovery. Next, we'll be talking about Porter's five forces shown that commercial aerospace is structurally attractive. Entry barriers are huge, and there are few true substitutes for large jets. However, rivalry between Boeing and Airbus is intense, and both buyers and suppliers wield significant power. Airlines can leverage the deploy to pressure on price and delivery slots, and a few critical suppliers can cause major disruption. In the industry structure, the industry structure is favorable, but Boeing only benefits if it can execute reliably on quality and delivery, precisely where it is struggling currently.
This slide depicts a strategy canvas that compares Boeing with Airbus and two other players, Embraer and General Dynamics, across key competitive factors. The main story is Boeing versus Airbus. Both are full-line commercial leaders with large order books, but Airbus currently outperforms on manufacturing stability, production rates, and safety and quality perception. Boeing still has strengths in its global service network and in pricing and financing support, yet those advantages are not enough to offset its execution and quality gaps. The takeaway is that fundamentals are strong, but success hinges on restoring production and safety performance. Here we look at Boeing's financial position using free cash flow and inventory turnover compared with Airbus, Embraer, and General Dynamics. Boeing is the only one with sustained negative free cash flow in an otherwise attractive industry, which is a clear sign of financial distress. Its inventory turnover is also lowest, meaning more capital is tied up in undelivered aircraft rework. Together, these metrics tell us that Boeing's real problem is converting demand and backlog into cash. This slide compares how Boeing and Airbus convert backlog into cash through their operational pipelines. Airbus starts with a healthy backlog and generally moves aircraft through production, certification, and delivery in a predictable way, which shows up as positive free cash flow and steady margins. Boeing begins with an even larger backlog, but encounters more issues in production, certification, and quality, leading to delivery delays and negative cash flow. The key takeaway is that Boeing does not have a demand problem, it has a pipeline and execution problem. Pulling all of this together, Boeing faces three interconnected strategic problems. First, it has persistent delivery and quality gap versus Airbus, which erodes airline trust and cash generation. Second, the defense and space portfolio has become a cash and reputation drag instead of a stabilizing contributor. Third, rising competitive and sustainability expectations in a duopoly make Boeing's execution problems more visible and costly. Boeing is in a fundamentally good industry with strong demand, but these internal issues keep it from fully participating in that upside. Of these three, the most critical is delivery and quality gap versus Airbus because it directly drives cash flow, backlog conversion, and reputation. Our recommendations flow directly from those problems. First, stabilize and de-risk Boeing commercial airplanes by integrating Spirit where it truly reduces risk, strengthening quality governance, and pacing production rate increases behind demonstrated capability. Second, fix and focus defense and space at exiting or renegotiating value-destroying fixed-price contracts and leaning into segments where Boeing systems integration strengths matter most. Third, once operations are stable, invest in a next-generation, more sustainable narrow-body platform tied to an expanded services and data ecosystem. Together, these moves aim to turn strong industry conditions into durable cash flow and long-term advantage by fixing the O, or organization, in the VRIO framework. Our highest priority recommendation is to stabilize and de-risk BCA production so Boeing can finally turn its huge backlog into cash. That means deepening vertical integration where it generally improves quality and control, integrating Spirit under unified standards, and only raising production rates when rework and defect metrics show the system is ready. This matters because Boeing sits on roughly $636 billion in company backlog, including thousands of aircraft, and it cannot unlock that without reliable, safe execution. Yet it trails its peers such as Airbus on production reliability and safety reputation. Peers are generating healthy margins and positive free cash flow while Boeing is still negative. So the industry is attractive, but Boeing isn't capturing that value until it fixes execution. Implementation falls into two phases. Phase 1. In the first 12 months, the focus is stabilization, integrate Spirit, establish joint Boeing FAA quality review cells, and meaningfully reduce rework hours and recurring defects. Phase 2. Over the next 12 to 36 months, the emphasis shifts to scaling stable production, moving key defense programs toward break-even, and creating space for early work on next-generation sustainability-linked narrow-body. We'll know the strategy is working if on-time deliveries improve, defect trends decline, free cash flow turns positive, and Boeing's financial profile converges towards Airbus. This slide highlights the main risks and how we would mitigate them. Supplier resistance is one risk. Unwinding lowest cost contracts and imposing stricter quality standards could face pushback, which we address through data sharing, code design improvements, and incentives based on quality and predictability. Financial strain is another. Quality investments in Spirit integration are expensive for a company already under pressure, so Boeing will need disciplined capital allocation and a focus on debt reduction and operational improvements over share buybacks. Cultural resistance is also real. Shifting from schedule-driven behavior to a true safety-first culture requires new incentives, clear leadership support for stopping the line when needed, and transparent reporting of quality and cash flow progress. To close, I want to bring the story back to three themes. First, restoring execution quality is essential. Boeing must prove it can deliver safe, reliable aircraft and rebuild trust with regulators and airlines. Second, it needs to better leverage its backlog and services by turning strong demand and large installed base into consistent cash and returns. Third, operational excellence has to become the organizing priority so that the company's engineering talent, relationships, and portfolio are managed with more discipline. In short, Boeing should treat the next few years as a focused quality and production restoration program that converts a strong industry position into a safer, more resilient company.